AI is going to do some amazing stuff for us. We don't have to be totally afraid of it. The moment I can really get my screen working. Okay, it's there, but I don't see my chat. Okay, that's okay. Now I see my chat. There it is. Okay. How to become irreplaceable so that you can manage Zoom better than I do on this moment. AI is a good tool to free up time and energy to better up more productive and meaningful work. But I don't see it replacing the human element yet. Rhonda, okay, you're a female after my heart because I have the same feeling as you. But I have some proof why we have actually an advantage above AI. But also where AI is making us, now say, will replace us. But AI coach will take over coaches that don't use AI to support themselves. Philip, that's also an interesting thing. Let's see where it is and where it is, at least based on the latest information I have, and also the information we had from AI, because I used AI to do so. First, to make you aware, and Philip, I'm aware, I'm agreeing with you, 90% of what we now on average do, AI already does. By the way, I checked these answers with Claude, ChatGPT, and Grok. So I did also test on how it is. And in all those platforms, I uploaded, say, transcripts of my training, the ICF competences, and what coaches do. So to educate it, so it can have a more answer with content. The human touch, the emotion will never be replaced. Rhea, you took the words right out of my mouth. And an AI coach, you can do a lot of stuff. Like, what can it do amazing, and what is actually, to be honest, almost better than us? Ask beautiful question, reflection, summarizing, patterns reframing, matches language and pace. And by the way, it's 24/7 patient. I said free. Of course, ChatGPT, Claude, and all those kinds of things are not totally free. AI coaching will also not be free. But if you just have a subscription on AI, what a lot of companies already have, because more than 800 million people are already using ChatGPT. Critical thinking is ours. Mary John, according to Claude and ChatGPT, he likes to disagree with us. So we had a discussion with him, or it. But I know what you mean. It's rather, you're rather good in that part. Eh? And often it's faster than humans in these parts. By the way, who of you is not using AI for, say, at least translations, making your emails beautiful, or making your presentations beautiful? I think you all use it already for a different role, more as an assistant. Like, in my opinion, and Jan Georg, you're an MCC, you just have to support me in this one. Kidding, Jan Georg. it's making a difference, but actually also what we see in the chat, between, you could say, conventional coaching and transformational coaching. And in my opinion, it's bringing a gift to our profession. We have to scale up. We have to start utilizing more. To be honest, coaching was easy. You did the 60 hours program and you could become a coach. You become an ACC coach. You had to do so many hours, boom, you was an ACC coach. Now we have to scale up. We have to really start showing a difference. In the land of the blind, the person with one eye is king, as is an old proverb. And now we really have to start using two eyes, because the world is not blind anymore. Like, what ends is the cognitive surface, in my opinion. The question asking, reframing tools. If you upload information to Claude or ChatGPT, those are the most used ones, and you educate it, it can do a beautiful cognitive analysis. And if you like to know what I mean, just upload a couple of your recordings of coaching, upload the ICF core competences, And you can have actually a feedback from Claude or ChatGPT that is rather good, and where an average mentor could be jealous about. Not amazing mentors like Jan Fjord or me. I know Jan Fjord is a mentor, and as a supervisor, he's amazing because they have a different experience in there, but still, they do an amazing job. What will be there, and that's actually what already was said, the human touch, what Gea said, or what Rhonda said, the biological depth, that's where we can make a difference. Because there's a difference still between a machine and a human. The only thing is, we as coaches don't always use the human element. Consciously, is my opinion. I'm reading the response of, I'm going to read it from Rhonda. It's beautiful said. It's fair to say that given the fact that many people don't truly understand what coaching is, and is not, that they may feel that they are being coached, but because AI gives answers and makes suggestions without really asking much deeper questions, people feel that they have gotten what they came for. But they're more likely to have missed out on gaining awareness, reflection, and growing. A beautiful point in there, Rhonda. And I've seen, say, some IE coaching programs, and they actually are rather good if you educate them to ask more to get a deeper insight. And I will not say they're us, but they're really catching up rather quickly. If you educate ChatGPT or the program or Claude to ask deeper and not run away with the first answer, then it will do that.
Can I ask you a question though? How many people
Of course,
know?
please do so.
How many people know that they have to do that though? That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
So
no, you're right in that part. No, Ron, you're right. That's why I say
yeah,
most of us, the 800 or almost a billion people who use AI, use it as an assistant.
right.
Could you check my email before I send it out? Could you check my slides, what I did actually on grammar?
Yeah.
Could
The reason I called that point out is because even when I'm coaching clients, especially in a corporate space, especially with team coaching, I show up and I have to really first educate them on what coaching is and is not, because they are looking to me to give them answers or make suggestions. They're thinking of a coach like the football coach or the basketball coach. I'm going to give them a game plan.
Yeah.
So I think your average person who doesn't know any better could be really ignorant to the fact that they're not really being coached. They think they are because you know how AI is very agreeable, and you have to push it to tell it to not be so agreeable. But I think your typical person doesn't know the difference. That's all I was
No, but
trying to say.
thank you for bringing this out, Rhonda, because we have so many people here who are also so experienced. I don't have all the wisdom in me, although sometimes I would say I have, but then that's most times at 11 o'clock at Saturday evening that I have that big mouth. But I did a lot of research in it. But you're right, Like, and if you think about it, why does somebody go to a coach? Is it because they like to be coached or they like to have solutions for problems? Actually, they come to us because they like to have solutions for the issues. And they seek a way of how to get there. You can choose, if it's, you can go to a psychologist, a counselor, a coach, a life coach, a business coach, a health coach. There are so many different ways. If you go to psychology, if you go to a psychologist, do you know how many streams of psychology there are? So different ways how psychology works. At least there are 10 main streams, from Hungarian to Freud to existentialism. So people don't know that. If you go to a psychologist, you don't ask, hey, are you more existentialist coach, psychologist, or more an cognitive behavioral coach, or a more existentialism coach? You don't know, because clients don't know. And you're right, Rhonda, the average coachee does not know what coaching is. But they come with us with an issue. And the same, in my opinion, always we go to a doctor because we have a sore shoulder and we like to have a solution. And they can send us to a chiropractor, to a physiotherapist, maybe to a trauma specialist, maybe to another kind of specialist, because we just have to trust them. So you're right. Education is one. But And that is actually, when you come back, our clients like to have a solution. And if artificial intelligence gives them a solution, I didn't say the solution, they could be happy with it. And you're right, they miss out maybe what is really the underlying pattern I have that brings me to this topic. Now, why do I fall back in the same patterns? That probably is not mentioned in that one or solved in that one. Because if you go to ChatGPT, what's the best restaurant? It could ask, what would you like to eat? But if you don't give the instructions, I like that it's open, I don't like it like this in 500 meters of my directions, etc., 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 it just gives you a general idea. So you're totally right in that part. So where will we make the difference? As a biology, besides say, how do we educate? But keep in mind, for me, it's keep in mind, clients don't come to us to be coached. In general, they come to us because they like to have a solution for something. And what is the biological depth? And what we spoke about, Rhonda. Who of you ever walked into a room and felt something, the atmosphere in that room? I see Theodora nodding, okay. And I think most of us. So this is, and Jan, this is say what this makes a huge distinction between us and artificial intelligence. We have senses AI does not have. And by utilizing those, we can bring much more to the coaching. And what Rhonda says, then we can dive deeper than in other ways. So in my words, from cognitive to presence. What's actually also, we come later in that, already in ICF. Last year, there was an update of competences, some new competences, some updated. I had the luck and the honor to be part of ICF in the last review of them last year. So I was really with my nose on top of it. And we discussed it. And of course, we also discussed, hey, how's AI coming now, doing it? And what ICF already had in their wisdom from, hey, this is what we saw in the past as really important. It is still important, but this was more, say, more main core. Now we have to go to cultivating trust and safety more, maintaining presence, comfortable with not knowing, space for silence and reflection, what the client is and is not saying. But you said diving deeper, Rhonda. If the client says, I like to have the solution, Grok and ChatGPT and Claude will give you that solution. We could ask, what's the reason that you like to do this? How would it help you? How will it not help you? Rhonda, I see you raise your hand, but oh, there you are. Yeah, I see you in your screen jumping to another slide.
I just wanted to also add to when this side of the relational depth. So and I'm sure that many of us use different techniques, tools, and things of that nature in the coaching space. Like, for example, when I have a client who's really particularly having a hard time with something, they're having very much difficulty verbalizing what they're feeling. I've been trained in art-based coaching, and I have found that to be very, very effective. But how is an AI going to know? I'm detecting that maybe I need to take a different approach. Under this circumstance, I'm thinking maybe I need to pull from some of my training in positive psychology or positive intelligence or something. Different ways of knowing how to engage with the client through our own experience and our training and our professional, development. An AI may not just know that, but that's something that you just know instinctively as a coach. You just get a sense, a feeling of, maybe I should try to ask this or go in this direction. So I just wanted to add that piece because I find that, yes, AI can ask very meaningful questions. I've actually used it to help create scenarios in coach training development that I've done for companies. But that's just to teach them the concepts. I am not trying to turn these people into certified coaches. I'm just asking them to understand a little bit more about what coaching is and what it isn't. And in their managerial or leadership roles, they might want to consider asking more questions and being less directive. That's the thing. But they're not going to get to the point of being an actual coach because that's not the goal. So I think that AI is useful to a degree, but it's these deeper moments where you have to differentiate between what you're dealing with is, I think, the most important part. And I think that I just can't imagine that it's going to ever get to that point unless you're spending thousands of hours training it. And why would you do that? So I just wanted to add that
It's a
piece.
beautiful point, Golna. What you say actually is actually what is coming in the presentation later, the human touch in there. And Theodora put something amazing in the chat. Thank you so much, Theodora. Carl Jung, know all the theories, master all the techniques, but as you touch a human soul, be just another human soul. Multiple reasons why Jung was such an amazing guy. This is one of them. Thank you so much for sharing that, Theodore. Beautiful. But you're right, Golna. That's a different. And the topic is, what you just said, Golna, is what many coaches don't master up to now. Or not in an awareness of mastering. And that makes a difference. So if we go on and say, hey, why can we use what you just said, Golna? We have 3 biological centers and not only 1 brain. If you look in science, we have actually 3 brains. Scientifically proven that one in between our ears, one a little bit more than 1 kilo, 40 billion neurons, freaking amazing, awesome. And what does it do? And this is not the presentation about the 3 brains, that is on Friday, but it is mainly there for, say, prediction. It knows so much because it can predict better. It is almost an AI. It has many memories, many connections, and those connections and can create somewhere a pattern what is wise to do next. It's the only part in us that can do a cause and effect analysis. It's the only part that knows yesterday and tomorrow. But science already proved we have a brain in our heart. 40,000 neurons. Since 94, Dr. Amour came aware of it. It has been there. HeartMath made this whole research and things about it. And it can release oxytocin as one of the neurotransmitters. Oxytocin, what does it do? It is there for bonding and connection. It is the love hormone. Besides, it can be released by the amygdala. It can also be released by the heart or synthesized by the heart. Because when we feel a broken heart, where do you feel that? Hey, in your heart. That's the word. Hey, broken heart. And we really feel it there because it can make decisions for us. It has its own intelligence, and the heart transplants actually prove the research on heart transplant that actually memories and habits and preferences can be transplanted by a heart transplant. So that means it must have a memory system, otherwise it could not get transplanted. It can make its own decisions. Because I always ask people, if people say, how do you mean that? I said, who of you ever fell in love with the wrong person? The bad boy, if I see the ladies, or the wrong girl. And your parents knew sometimes. I think most of them did, because we followed our heart instead of our logic or maybe our gut feeling. And we ended up with a broken heart or something else. The 3rd brain is the gut brain. Michael Gershon wrote a book about the 2nd brain in 98, or it was released in 98, 500 million neurons. It's a totally independent system, our gut system, from the tip of our tongue to where we sit on our chair. Science shows actually it can really make independent decisions. And if your central nervous system is broken, so you break your spine, your gut system still can work. It does not need instructions from our beautiful head to operate. And if you think about where's your immune system located, for 90% of your gut system. If you eat ever an oyster or a mussel next time, if you eat those, then look at them really carefully, because you will see it's a living gut system. It does not have a heart. It does not have a head. and it can function perfectly. It can close its shell when it feels danger or senses danger. It opens when it is there. It can eat food. It can reproduce. It can do everything to stay alive. And those three inside us are almost like three, in imagine, you have three wise people at your table. And they have their own intelligence. One is logical. One is all about connecting and bonding and not getting rejected. And the other one is all about survival and winning and not losing. And those three can make independent decisions inside yourself. That's what we have. And if you now think about AI, what can AI do perfectly? Which of the three roles could it take perfectly? The head brain role. The heart brain or gut brain role it cannot take because it does not have that kind of intelligence. Because the heart brain and gut brain, yes, Theodora.
Sorry to interrupt there. I was just
please
thinking.
Don't, because I know this. I hope that you get something out of it. So if you have a question, it's amazing.
I was thinking about the future developments of AI and whether, at this point, obviously AI is more head, it's more logic and structure, but I'm wondering if there's potential for development in the heart and gut area. For example, I'm thinking about the TV show Westworld, if you've seen it, where the robots were starting to develop self-awareness and feelings. Yeah. What do you think?
If you go to movies, everything is possible. I was talking to one of those IT, let's call them nerds. I think it's allowed to say so. Really, those extremely smart people who really are with their head and is the knowledge 5 steps ahead. And I discussed, say, about sensations and feelings, and it said, Westworld, bone chilling. Yes, I know, Philip, you're so right. And he shared, AI has cameras, has sensory systems for, say, humidity and all this kind of stuff. And so it can start measuring the normal things. But what it is really hard to measure is actually the other part of what we call self-awareness, and it is actually the three brains we have. And what I mean with it, we have something that we call what you said in Jung is a soul. Mm-hmm. We are all energy. When when all females are in the same place for a long time, like in monasteries or prisons, they could synchronize their period. Research shows that. Now, there's no system that is communicating from, hey, by the way, Theodora, when is yours? Then I synchronize mine. That communication system is actually you could say, almost in a quantum physics way done, in an energy way. But that part, AI can never touch. The human touch, what Rhonda says, when to use actually gentleness and put a hand on the shoulder or not, when to go to art therapy and use other kind of things, that part is still extremely hard because you need, say, we could call the sixth sense. In the sixth sense, we even have issues as humans to describe what it is. We know it's there, but we don't know actually what it is. So if we don't know what it is, how can AI ever develop it? Will AI be extremely smart, etc., etc.? Yes. But in my personal opinion, we have 500 million years of development. We are more than 100 billion neurons, and we have a tenfold of bacteria in our gut system that keeps us alive, but also has its own intelligence. Now, it would be really putting ourselves in the place of God, that's my personal opinion, if in a couple of decades, we can do what evolution did in 500 million years. Mm-hmm. And that is my personal opinion. If I challenge that, we say that now that really guru almost person who really knows all the things, he said, probably you're right. We can get close, but we will never get there. But having said that, if we know the Pareto analysis, 80%, if it's 20%, if you solve 20% of the problems, 80% of the people will be happy. So a massive amount will be covered by it. The more advanced things will still need the human touch. Like if you like to know what something happens, you can ask artificial intelligence. If you like to dive deeper, you can ask things. That interaction, hey, now you can talk. I have my phone here. You can talk to AI, and it responds to you, and you can have a discussion with it. It happens, and it can manage many learnings. But say the learnings. There's a beautiful book written by Lisa Barrett Feldman. Sorry, I had to dig up the name. And it's a book, How Emotions Are Made or Created. In her analysis as a neuroscientist, it says actually emotions are created. And we talk about we're being emotions, and actually emotions are created. In that same book, she describes actually how good we are as humans, and actually reading facial expressions and not. And actually, facial expressions actually mean what is happening inside the body. And actually, that's also not so really true. And so she debunks a lot of the things that we can analyze the nonverbal communication. Yes, maybe in a lot of times it's true, but in the special ways it's not true. That special sensing that Wanda spoke about. So yes, I believe even in the future, AI will go in that way for the general things. And the beauty is, if you go to Japan or Korea, and you look, say, at the robots to make these faces, and it shows, say, mimics of faces, so it gives a little wink or gives a little smile, or the face goes up and down. We humans, based on our mirror neurons, sometimes we respond to it. So they can manipulate us in that part, but that does not mean we can really us. And that's, I just put the word in there, what we have, what AI will never have, and that's called mirror neurons. If you know the statement of mirror neurons, that is a part of the research that is 20, 30, 40 years ago, that our brains actually mimic what they observe in the other person or living creature. And somewhere they synchronize it. And based on the synchronization, so we mirror actually what's happening inside the other living entity, person, or animal, because it was actually discovered that an animal was actually mimicking a human being. So it's not only saying human to human. Because we mimic it, we can sense the sensations an other person has. Now, that quality, I don't believe, but that's an I don't believe, and the person I spoke to, or the persons I spoke to in the big four, so that means the Deloittes, the Ernst & Youngs, and those kind of consultant people, said, no, we don't believe it will happen in the next century. Because also it needs so massive amount of power of chips and all this kind of stuff. How do you do that? And how are you going to train that sensing system of mirror neurons? Because you have first to analyze what's happening. And so, but yes, in 80%, it can do a beautiful job to us.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can feel, if you think about it, who have you ever watched now? The Pixar movies with the little cowboy. Toy Story. True. You never watched Toy Story? Who has kids? Most people, and I raise my hand, cry when they see Toy Story. It's a freaking story, and it is freaking comics. They're not real humans, but we can feel the emotions of it. So they can manufacture with us that we can get emotional getting there. But it does not mean it can feel what we feel. So
may I comment on that? May I comment on that? That's a very interesting and terrifying question, actually, because when I heard you talking about this mirroring effect, it reminds me of the work of Darwin, because he was talking about that, and even animal species, these emotions are consistent worldwide. And I'm thinking, will they come up with a way to create a million different possibilities and train the AI, if this, then that, so that they can actually train it to recognize environments and situations and train it on this mirroring thing. So it just made me think about that, you know. It's just not to go down that rabbit hole, but it just begs a very interesting question for sure.
Yeah, Philip gives a beautiful idea and answer also on that in the chat. Thank you, Philip, for being so contributing to our discussion here. And we don't think of bad emotions. It will happen. But you're right, Rhonda. It will train a lot. But still, that what I still, and that's my hope now, not my hope, but what I know when you read the research of Lisa Barrett Feldman, that we as humans already have an issue with predicting what emotion it is, and that the facial expressions also don't really give a real internalization of the emotion, so we can have a face of happiness and still feel disgust inside us. So that role is there, but the facial expressions are not so universal in that part. So that gives also then a question: how can you train the systems that they really know? And that sensing system is different. Will they improve? Absolutely. But what do we do? What does AI great? What we said. Language-wise, on this moment, language-wise, it's amazing. What does it not do is the heart and gut presence. The co-regulation by the nervous system that we just shared. The embodied presence in the room, because you can feel somebody when it's in the room, because we all sense energy. Oh, and now just thinking about changing the overflowing diapers of my son and still being full with bliss looking at him. Yes, that's an emotion, Philippe, that is really hard for AI ever to learn. To be happy with your son who's actually getting it all out. Because the heart says, I love my son. Well, probably your gut says, this stinks. And your head says, oh, bugger, how can I manage all these kind of different roles in the same moment? Beautiful example. Yeah. So there is still that human touch is a beautiful example, what you say, Philip. And if you now talk about what you already said earlier, transformational coaching does not happen through what you say. It happens when you can listen and coach with all your wisdom centers active. So those three people there, and talk about your three brains, but actually every cell in your body is a receptor and can feel and can sense. We can get the goosebumps of something. If you listen to music, some people get goosebumps because you have a different kind of sensing into your nervous system that makes that sounds. To teach AI to get goosebumps or not is also hard. So we have human qualities it doesn't have. If your three brains are working together, then this one grows curiosity, this one can show that compassion, what you just shared about your little son whose diaper is overflown, and your gut can have the trust, I can manage the overflowing diaper, I can manage, say, my disgust of the smell, I can just manage the process and trust the process, everything will go good. And when our whole system is working together, when those three advisory boards at your table are all agreeing, change happens. The question is, can AI ever listen to all three of them and can influence them and actually can sense what they are saying? And that sensing makes a difference. Like what we can do as a coach, or what most clients also do, is using one dominant brain more. They are too or logical, too over empathic, too pushy in that part. And that is clients also happening. When say, we call it when the emotions step in. And emotions can be sensations, can be feelings as a transmission of what we sense somewhere. Like the moment we jump, say, let's call it an emotional state, we actually get somewhere in sensation, and we actually lock our systems down, then actually AI is much better. The moment we can really be present and be there, we can make the difference. It cannot replicate the state we have as a human being. Because although we are all humans, all the 8 billion on this world, we are all also different. Nobody has the same DNA. It is actually true, identical twins have the same DNA. But we don't share the same DNA as everybody else. There's always a little difference. Why does somebody get the flu? Why doesn't somebody get the flu? because our system is still a little bit different. And that difference can make us unique. What AI can never replicate. Because how does AI know we get sick or don't get sick? So let's just do a little test to make it maybe based on the discussion a bit more hands-on. So just imagine you meet a prospective client. And you say to the client, welcome to this discovery call. From my side, I will support you fully to get the best possible outcome of this conversation today. Just in general, beautiful opening. The client responds, yeah, thanks. I've done coaching before, so yeah, I'm curious how this would be different. What do we hear? What could AI hear? And here's actually not only typing in, but actually if you speak into it. AI can have a comparison of the language. I can maybe notice the cautious opening. The curiousness. I can sense possible skepticism based on maybe on the differentiation of the speed. And it can put their past coaching in there. So it can do a beautiful linguistic analysis. What we could really sense up to now much more, and probably still in the future, is the hesitation before the thanks. We can observe that swallowing of the throat. We can see maybe the little tilt of the head. The contraction in the posture, chain of intonation and breathing, the eye movements. Let's sense the emotions, sensing the emotions or the energy like protection, anger, annoyance, frustration. And because when I said it in a different kind of intonation. What did you sense about it besides the words? Was I open to really to be curious, or were they actually a bit more cynical? That part AI will have an issue with, because it's not only the words and intonation, but actually what did you sense there? With all the differentiations that happen there. How congruent was actually what's happening? And that congruence training, Rhonda, even if you do 1,000,000 ones, becomes extremely hard. Because it's not only the eye movement, it can be the little flickering that just happens differently. What could mean different kind of things, but we sense it based on our mirror neurons. And all the other cells in our body that sense actually energy. Of course, your heart and your gut, what I said about the females who synchronize their period, that is not only our mirror neurons. Because your mirror neurons don't know actually what the biology is going inside in that part so much. And also your heart and your gut can sense in energy in a different way. And you just have to look at the animal world, how many different kind of sensing exists. And that is more, the snake who smells actually their prey. Who can hear the vibration of the things. And the magnetic north that turtles have. And we have sensing systems inside us that only almost quantum biology can only give answers to. And it makes us stay ahead of it, if we use it. What you said, Ron, in the beginning, in your example about your art, are we going to use it? Are we really going to sense inside ourselves what could be now the best? And that is actually I come later to that, or introspection. Because we can have sensations, but are we aware what our sensations mean? Like I can feel something now, but do I know what my internal feelings actually mean to me? And what I mean is that you can have a tight stomach, and it could be fear because you are in a plane, or you go to fly. You can have a tight stomach because you're hungry. You can have a tight stomach because you're eating something different. You can have a tight stomach because you see the love of your life. You can have a tight stomach because you're going to have a presentation with somebody that has a lot of things on stake. So you can have the same sensation, but different kind of meanings. So we also have to know what does actually our sensations mean. And if we can do that, we as coaches are still outperforming AI many, many, many times. Now the client says, as said, Rhonda, I've done coaching before. Most coaches just ask questions and nothing really changes. I once spoke to Jan Georg, amazing coach, but only questions. Kidding, Jan Georg. I just want to bring you back. What happens then? How could we respond and how will AI respond? I asked this actually really on Claude 4.7 Optus. That's the most advanced of Claude that is now there. And I asked ChatGPT in the most advanced form and also Grok, but Grok was a little bit less in that part, to be honest. So I put down 4 different responses. I don't say they're all, but just more from a logical, empathic, task-oriented, so head, heart, gut, and more combined response. The head-brain dominance, if you would call it like that, I understand what you say. I understand what you say, that questions could have a purpose, should have a purpose, and questions alone are not the right path. So what's a good coaching structure for you, dear client? Your heart-brain dominance, more of an empathy, could say, thank you for sharing that with me. I can imagine it's not nice feeling to invest in coaching that doesn't deliver. I would like to understand what would actually feel different for you this time. And what do you really expect from me? Option number 3, more task-oriented. That sounds like a waste of your valuable time. I work differently. I focus on helping you to get where you want to be. So I need to know what's the best way for you to learn. What makes you accept a new concept and what doesn't? And the last one, a little bit more integrated of the three you saw, it shows quality that you are so honest upfront. And I feel with you that you are unsatisfied with the quality of coaching you received. I work in a way that adjusts the way we work together to your needs. And if I may ask a question about that, what's your need from this coaching? If you now look at those 4, let's put them in the chat. Thank you, Philip. And Ria, I love your response about a tight stomach. Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. I once had an issue. I went to Google and AI what I could have. I went to my GP, and my GP almost gave me a slap for my head that I gave him all the answers. But of course, if you like to know how worse you can get, go to Google or AI and ask what your symptoms means. And before you know, you have a deadly disease, as he said. So if we had to choose, you can put it in the chat, that makes it fun. Which of those would you choose? There is no right one, because all have a purpose based on the client you actually see in front of you. Which one would you choose? Based on your experience, your quality. Yeah, me, I feel sick, headache, A response. You're about to die. Yes, Philip. So put in the chat which one you choose. And there is no right and wrong. All 4 of them serve a purpose, and based on the coaching and the client, they actually are the best response. It's more which one would you choose based on what we just shared. I'm not going to judge which is right or wrong. It's more from what would we do. Option 2 or 4, Theodora. Yes. Option 4. All are good, but I would go with 4. Jan Georg, what do we think? Jan Georg goes for 2. Yes, I know. Yeah, I would have guessed you would go for 2 or 4. Jan Georg, makes sense. We would do this. I really like 2, but seems like the right answer based on what I'm learning today. Rhonda, you're actually quote right. 4 is the one that is quote the most safe, because you communicate to the clients all the 3 brains. It shows quality that you're honest up front. You give him actually praise, and that gives his gut feeling a safety feeling. Because he or she responds to the client, and you actually make it feel safe, that response, and you acknowledge it. And you feel with him, you feel with you is actually this real show of empathy, not I'm sorry for you, I feel with you is a different kind of feeling. You adjust your way, what you say, Rhonda, we can have different kind of tools, if it's art therapy, more questioning, more other kind of tools, and you ask permission to ask the next question about the need of his coaching. So that makes the best. Theoretically, it doesn't mean it's the best, because if it's really a high-pitched executive from Wall Street, then maybe option 3 would be better.
Can I ask you a question?
course.
Is it a possibility that based on our unique individual personalities, styles, whatever, that a coach might naturally be more inclined towards one of these three brains than the other? Because I am understanding from a logical perspective everything that you're teaching us today. So logically, yes, option 4 seems like the right answer. But for me personally, I was naturally inclined leaning into number 2. Like I would start with that first, and then I could see myself moving into an option 4 eventually. That I was more naturally inclined out of the first 3 options. My natural inclination was for number 2.
That makes sense. If you come back, I said we have those 3 wisdom centers, 3 brains. If you saw an invitation, I asked people to do the 3 brains dominance test. We all humans have a preference which brain is dominant. Only 3% of the 5,218 tests I did have somewhere like an equality in the 3 scores. So the 3 brains are just as dominant. We all have a preference, and most coaches, actually now, on average, all the coaches have a heart brain dominance. That means they will first choose from the heart. That makes sense for option 2. Therefore, they incline also to option 4, because it connects all the dots. If your client is really, say, what happens more, say, in the C-suite area, more gut strong, they could have option 3 as their preference to hear. I got some clients in the past who I responded as 3 based on now the hunch I got, who really said, this is what we need in our coaching. A response like this. All those others are softies. That was when I was living in Australia in really, in the industry of oil and gas. So there is no right or wrong. It's actually which brain is dominant, what kind of language do we like to hear? Say a real techie, a head brain techie, the really nerdies, could respond with A1 much better. They like to have the intellectual acknowledgement. So there is no right or wrong. That's why I say there is no right or wrong. We have a preference. And that is actually also extremely important. We all have a 3 brains preference. And there is no right or wrong. We should have the flexibility, to use all 4, context-wise. When you think about it, when you talk about situational leadership, actually you can put situational leadership on these 4 answers. Now, if you ask AI what it answers, it's really fun. I ask all the 3 main AI centers based on my education of them, what would you answer? And Claude Optus 4 really made the most, I would say, the most beautiful answer. Now, what would I choose if I were responding to the client? This is really what it wrote down for me. And it says, I would choose option 1. Every time for every client like this. Based on their statistical analysis and based on their training, this is the statistically best answer for them. Option 4 is almost one he would never choose. Now, less choose. Now, I give you an option 5, Rhonda, and Theodora and all the other 25 are still here. Wow, it shows quality that you share this with me. So upfront and so frank. I hear your concern and take it seriously. And before I bark up the wrong tree, and the coaching is finished before we even start, what would you like me to do is what you just told me. That's actually asking the client to reflect on his own behavior. You right away put him in a coaching role. That is almost the way, if you ever read the book, The $1 Trillion Coach, who coached, say, the CEOs of Google and Apple and all those kind of things, could respond. But actually ask, are you coachable, dear client? This is actually also a risky one, because actually you put a mirror in the face of the client. What would you like me to do is what you just told me. It is asking for a reflection of the client. So you could step on his or her toes and you get slapped out. The coaching is wrong before is finished before you start. Or you put the client in a reflective mode. Based on that response, you actually know how coachable is the client. Or is he going to blame you or not? Or she. What do you think is the chance that AI will ask this question? Rhonda, you gave a perfect answer. Does everybody see what? Yeah, Ria, 0. Yes, you put it there. AI will never use this option. Why is it? Because it's dangerous, actually. You're going to confront the client. And even if you educate AI, it will not do it because AI is there to help, not to confront so much. Because I asked Claude and the other ones, can I educate you that you do this? And he says, yes, but I will probably still choose the other ones because they give a statistically safer outcome. Because it's all about statistics, the answer. Okay? The answer of AI is all about statistics. What statistic gives the most or the highest prediction of a good result? And this doesn't give the highest prediction of a good result. It will never be number 1 in the highest prediction. So it will never be used. Think about AI as a Google search. It gives you the best answers on your query. And AI does the same, even if you train it with 10 billion different kind of options. This option will always be number 2 or number 8. It will never be number 1. And so there we can make the difference. And for this, you really need your 3 brains there. Because you need somewhere what we call the guts to put it out in the client. So that means you need to trust in yourself, trust in the process, actually also trust in the client. That based on how you do it and based on what you just heard and what you just sensed in the client, that this is a good approach. It doesn't mean you always have to do this. It's not what I'm saying, this is the best answer. That's not what I'm saying. I don't say this is the best answer, but this is an answer that AI will never use and you maybe sometimes will use. If you can use all your senses. Now, what is one big advantage of us? We are humans. So we have our mood swings. I have my mood swings. I don't know how it's with you, but I can have a good day and a bad day. I can change it, but sometimes I wake up totally energized, and sometimes I wake up and think, oh, like this morning, can I snooze at least one time? And then also I had to restart my computer. That does not help. Our state or managing our state can be our biggest handicap. Because if we just discussed those 5 examples, we need to be in our state. And that sometimes makes it hard. On an average day, we fall back to our dominant brain. Which brain is our most dominant brain? And from there, I will give answers. If I'm more head brain logical, if I'm more heart brain warm, if I'm more gut brain survival, or am I more, say, the 3% in this world, more aligned with 3 brains? So I choose on that moment. And it means we don't give the best. And in that moment, AI can push us away. Does it make sense up to now what I'm saying? And last thing, AI imitates empathy. Humans can transmit trust, compassion, and curiosity. We can do the extra mile. We can make it something special. So I just stop share for a moment. I'm just curious how your responses are up to now. There are not so many people left, so we can open up or not open up, because otherwise, now we're not finishing Tyrone instead of 10 minutes. But I thought I would just give a little break up, because I'd just like to have, say, a few, now say, then talk from the priest. Accelerates technology. You decide which state you lead from what we just said. Will it be a head brain state, heart brain state, gut brain state, or all 3 of them? Cognitive processing will be replaced. 3 brain coaching, your whole human coaching cannot be replaced, because it's actually you. if you can access the whole you. So now, for the people who saw a Matrix, know the little picture on the right. Do you take the blue pill or the red pill? For me, it's actually, what are you going to do with all what we just say learned or discussed? Based on research, if you now know it, and don't do anything with it, within 2 weeks somewhere, it is a system you know. Okay, and they have to do 3-brain coaching. Rhonda said about art therapy, maybe I should do art therapy also, and somewhere that's it. And it doesn't mean art therapy is not great, Rhonda, because I love it. Let's make that clear. The art therapy, even the drawing and the other use of expressing is amazing. Or you can choose option 2 and really embody it and start learning it, how it works. From my side, I love to assist you in that. Why is that? Because I really believe we have a huge role in this world as coaches. We help coaches, we help leaders and managers and people to become better people. And not only better, more successful, but also better human beings in general, who are more aware of themselves, more reflective of themselves, more have an internal perspective. And for that, really important. So I like to help you in that part. So I just invite you for my training. And for the people who are in this training or in this workshop, you get a gift from me for 185 euros to make it more feasible for you. By the way, for the people who have to renew their ICF CCEUs, it ticks right away all the boxes. That's okay. These are the dates. If you like to take your phone, you can even scan it and whatever. Of course, you will get the presentation later. The recording, so you can see it actually. I love to see you, and if you don't see it also. If people say, I like it, but I like to first read more about it, it's also totally gay. Say, this is the price of, I would say, a coffee in the center of Madrid, one of those books. 3 of the books actually also have to take something with it. So it's the extremely affordable option. If you can afford a coffee in the center of Paris, you can afford all the books here. I visited Paris, I was sitting in the center, took a coffee, and I thought I have to drink it by my spoon because 9 euros for one coffee is a lot of money, at least for me. And they give you insight in there. It gives you the insight that your 3 brains do with life cases and other kind of things. But I do invite you because it's really free, and me as Dutch love free. I think gratis is a word that even in Spanish is a word. So it's a Dutch word. So we Dutch have some words that are totally all around the world. Gratis is one of those. That means free. Do my test. There's no strings attached to this. You're free. You get a little email back or an email back with an analysis of your 3 brain scores, because it helps you to become aware. Which brain do you fall back on an average day? It helps you in that reflective mode. Hey, which of my brains are actually silent? So I have to be aware of it to really bring it into the coaching. And please do that for yourself and for your clients. Now, that's my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And let me see. Jan Georg said a reflection. So, Jan Georg, could you say it by yourself? Because if I read your words, I have to start laughing because it cannot be more true in my perception. What did you share, Jan Georg?
A key